Where are the others? Minho asked. Suho is getting to the control center. Yuna is at the execution chamber erupted into chaos. Energy blasts tore through the air. Guards fell as humans fought with desperate fury. Commander Thex fired at Jinho, but Minho tackled him from the side. They crashed into a broadcasting camera, sending it tumbling to the floor. The galaxy-wide broadcast showed only static and confusion now. Move, Jinho shouted. Get to the corridor. The 9 humans ran from the chamber. Behind them, more guards poured in. Alarms screamed throughout the prison. Lights flashed red. Emergency bulkheads began closing, trying to trap the escapees. But Yuna had studied the prison's layout. She knew which corridors would seal first. Through the tapping network, she had shared this information with everyone. The humans ran down paths that would stay open longest. They moved like water, flowing through gaps before they closed. In the control center, Suho stood before a wall of computers. 2 guards lay unconscious at his feet. He had made it here by crawling through ventilation shafts. Spaces too small for large Krell bodies, but perfect for a slim human. His fingers flew over the controls. The Krell security system was sophisticated, but Suho had studied it for months. He found the wireless network controls and introduced a virus he had been planning in his head for weeks. It was simple code, but effective. It created feedback loops in the guards' cybernetic implants, making their communication worse instead of better. Guards throughout the prison suddenly found their implants giving them contradictory orders. Go left, no, go right. Seal corridor 3. No, seal corridor 5. The confusion grew. Systems disrupted. Suho tapped through the wall network. Guards are confused. Move now. Jinho's group ran hard. They had picked up more escapees along the way. Tavik, the 4-armed Renthan warrior, had broken free and joined them. So had Lissa, the telepath. Other aliens emerged from their cells, seeing the impossible happening before their eyes. The docking bay is 3 levels down, Hana said between breaths. We need to get there before they seal it completely. Yuna is already there, Jinho replied. She will hold it open. At the docking bay, Yuna fought alongside 2 other humans. They had reached the bay first and taken control. 3 transport ships sat in the berths ready for departure. But 20 guards blocked the path to them. Yuna held a control panel she had ripped from the wall. She used it to open and close the bay doors randomly, creating pressure changes that knocked the guards off balance. It was not much, but it gave her team moments to strike. How long can you hold? One of the humans asked her. As long as I need to, she replied, her jaw set with determination. The main group reached the entrance to the bay level. But Commander Thex was there waiting with 50 guards. They had set up a defensive position across the entire corridor. Energy shields formed a wall. Weapons pointed down the hallway. You cannot pass, Thex said. His voice echoed through the corridor. You have nowhere to go. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick. Jinho stepped forward. You said this prison was perfect. You said 1,000 years proved escape was impossible. You were wrong. You have not escaped yet, human. You are trapped in a corridor with no way out. We always have a way out. We are human. We adapt. Jinho looked at the others. Minho nodded. Hana smiled grimly. Rena gripped her weapon tightly. The other humans showed no fear, only determination. Tavik raised his 4 arms, ready to fight. Lissa closed her eyes, preparing to use her telepathic abilities to create distractions. One more time, Jinho said softly to the humans around him. Focus your minds. All together. Push as hard as you can. 12 humans had created interference before, but now there were escaped alien prisoners joining them. Lissa added her telepathic power to the mental effort. Over 40 beings focused their minds on the same frequency simultaneously. The effect was catastrophic for the Krell network. Guard implants sparked and sputtered. Some guards cried out in pain as their cybernetic systems overloaded. The defensive line wavered. Now, Jinho shouted. They charged. The fight was brutal. Energy weapons fired from both sides. Jinho rolled under a blast and came up firing. His shot hit a guard's shield generator, and the shield collapsed. Minho was right behind him, using his strength to physically throw guards aside. Hana targeted the cybernetic implants specifically, knowing their weak points from her biology research. Tavik proved why he had once been a famous warrior. His 4 arms moved in a blur, striking multiple targets at once. He laughed as he fought, the sound wild and joyous. After 40 years of imprisonment, he was finally fighting again. Lissa used her telepathy to create illusions in the guards' minds. They saw enemies where there were none, swung at shadows, fired at empty air. The confusion was devastating. Slowly, impossibly, the defenders fell back. Humans and freed aliens pushed forward. They fought with everything they had. Some fell, wounded by energy blasts, but others kept coming. The momentum was unstoppable. Commander Thex fought personally now. He was a skilled warrior, enhanced by the best implants the Krell could create. He faced Jinho directly. "You destroy everything," Thex snarled. 1,000 years of order. 1,000 years of perfect security. You humans ruin it in one day. "We break cages," Jinho replied. "That is what we do." They fought hand to hand. Thex was stronger and had better armor, but Jinho was faster and more unpredictable. He used moves from a dozen different Earth martial arts, mixing them in ways Thex had never seen. Punch, kick, roll, strike, retreat, advance. There was no pattern, no predictability. Thex's implants tried to anticipate Jinho's movements and failed every time. Humans did not fight like other species. They were too creative, too adaptive. Jinho ducked under a massive swing and drove his weapon into the connection between Thex's implants and his natural body. Sparks flew. Thex roared in pain and collapsed. "Stay down," Jinho said. "We do not want to kill you. We just want to be free." He ran past the fallen warden. The path to the docking bay was open. The freed prisoners poured through. They reached Yuna's position, and together they rushed to the transport ships. "Can you fly these?" Minho asked Jinho. "I can fly anything," Jinho replied. "Get everyone aboard. We leave in 2 minutes." The transport ships were designed to carry 50 beings each. Over 100 escaped prisoners packed into the 3 ships. Humans took the pilot positions. Yuna worked the engineering controls. Suho handled the computer systems. More guards arrived at the docking bay trying to stop the launch. But it was too late. The ships powered up. Energy fields crackled around them. "Opening bay doors," Yuna announced. "Seal your emergency suits." The massive outer doors began to open. Beyond them was the vacuum of space and the dying red star. The prison's defense turrets activated, targeting the ships. "Hold tight," Jinho said. He sat in the pilot seat of the lead ship, his hands moving over controls built for Krell but adaptable enough for humans. "This is going to be rough." The ships launched. Immediately, defense fire filled the space around them. Energy blasts struck the shields. Proximity mines exploded. The prison's automated defenses tried to destroy them. But Jinho had spent 15 years piloting through dangerous space. He knew how to fly. He dove the ship toward the red star, closer than any sane pilot would go. The heat was incredible. Warning alarms screamed. The shields began to fail. "Jinho, we cannot survive this," Hana shouted from her seat. "Humans evolved on a hot planet," Jinho replied calmly. "We handle heat better than most species. The defense systems are not designed for this. They will shut down before we do." He was right. The pursuing Krell ships could not follow through the star's corona. Their systems overheated and failed. The defense turrets lost tracking. The 3 transport ships vanished into the burning light. For several minutes they flew through hell. The temperature inside the ships rose to dangerous levels. Everyone was sweating, struggling to breathe. But they survived. Humans could withstand heat that would kill other species. Then they emerged on the far side of the star. Jinho immediately engaged the faster-than-light drive. The ships jumped to hyperspace, leaving the void citadel behind. In the pilot seat, Jinho allowed himself to relax slightly. Around him, freed prisoners cheered and cried. Humans hugged each other. Aliens who had been imprisoned for decades sat in stunned silence, unable to believe they were free. Rena sat next to Jinho, tears running down her face. "We did it. We actually did it." "We did it," Jinho confirmed. 127 prisoners escaped. The Void Citadel's perfect record is broken. "Where do we go now?" Minho asked. "Anywhere we want," Jinho replied. "The galaxy is open to us. We find safe places. We scatter. Some of us will fight the Krell. Others will just live free lives. But we all get to choose now." Hana looked at the star maps. "I know some human colonies that will take us in, and I know alien worlds that oppose the Krell. We have options." Over the next few hours, they made plans. The 3 ships would separate, going to different locations. This made them harder to track. Some freed prisoners would go to human space. Others would return to their homeworlds. A few would join resistance movements against the Krell Empire. Tavik approached Jinho as they prepared to separate. "I want you to know something, human. I have fought in 100 battles. I have led armies, but I have never seen courage like I saw today. You and your people. The day of Rena's execution arrived. The prison hummed with unusual energy. Extra guards patrolled the corridors. Cameras were positioned throughout the facility. The Krell wanted perfect footage to broadcast across the galaxy. They wanted every species to see human defiance crushed. In his cell, Jinho breathed slowly and steadily. He had not slept. None of the humans had. They were all awake, alert, ready. Through the tapping network, messages passed back and forth. Stage 1 in 4 hours. Confirmed. All positions ready. The plan had 4 stages. Each stage had to work perfectly or everything would fail. Stage 1 would begin at feeding time. That was when they would apply Hana's biopaste to the barrier generators. Stage 2 would happen during the shift change when guards were in motion. Stage 3 was the coordinated mental interference from all 12 humans. Stage 4 was the actual breakout, when they would move through the disrupted barriers faster than any species the Krell had ever seen. 4 hours. 240 minutes, 14,400 seconds. Jinho counted everyone. In the execution chamber, Rena stood in an energy cage. She was scared, but she stood straight. The guards had told her she would die today. They expected her to cry and beg, but she was human. She had heard the tapping through the walls. She knew the others were planning something. So she stood tall and waited. Commander Thex entered the chamber. He looked at Rena with his cold blue eyes. You could have lived peacefully if your people had accepted Krell rule, he said. Instead, you fought. You caused injury to 3 of my soldiers. This is your punishment. Your death will be broadcast to every human world. Maybe then your species will learn obedience. Rena met his gaze. Humans do not learn obedience. We learn resistance. Thex turned away. Foolish child. Begin the broadcast preparations. 3 hours remained. The feeding time approached. In cells throughout the prison, 12 humans received their meal trays. The gray paste looked the same as always, but each human had prepared. In the corners of their cells, hidden from camera angles, they had their biopaste ready. Jinho ate his food slowly, naturally. He did not want to seem different from any other day. When he finished, he pretended to examine the empty tray. His hand moved to the corner where his biopaste waited. The paste was warm from being kept against his body. He scooped it onto his fingers. Then casually, as if scratching his shoulder, he reached up and touched the top corner of his energy barrier generator. The generator was a small box embedded in the wall. His fingers left a smear of paste on it. Throughout the prison, 11 other humans did exactly the same thing. The guards noticed nothing. The cameras saw nothing suspicious. It looked like prisoners touching walls, a meaningless gesture. But the biopaste began to work. It reacted with the energy field, creating tiny disruptions in the molecular structure of the generator. The effect would build slowly over the next 2 hours, weakening the barrier at the reset point. 2 hours remained. Jinho sat in meditation position. He cleared his mind of all thoughts except one. He focused on a single mental frequency, the one Suho had taught them. It felt like pushing against an invisible wall with his mind. Pressure built in his head, making it throb with pain, but he kept pushing. In 11 other cells, 11 other humans did the same thing. 12 minds focused on the same frequency at the same moment. The combined effect began to create a subtle interference in the prison's wireless network. It was not enough to crash the system, but it created tiny lags in the guards' cybernetic connections. Delays of microseconds, small enough that the guards did not notice anything wrong, but large enough to slow their reaction time. 1 hour remained. In the execution chamber, Krell technicians set up broadcasting equipment. Cameras focused on Rena. The execution would be simple. They would increase the power of her energy cage until it killed her. Quick but painful. The perfect message to send to rebellious humans. Rena closed her eyes and thought about her family. She hoped they were safe. She hoped they escaped the colony before the Krell destroyed it. She hoped that if the escape plan failed and she died here, at least she would die knowing humans had tried. 30 minutes remained. The shift change approached. Jinho opened his eyes. His head pounded from the mental effort, but he felt alert and ready. His muscles were loose and prepared. He had stretched carefully, getting his body ready to move faster than he had ever moved before. The tapping network came alive. Status? Ready, 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 12 confirmations. Everyone was in position. 15 minutes remained. Guards began moving through the corridors. The shift change was starting early because of the execution event. This was perfect. More guards in motion meant more confusion. The wireless network had to handle more data traffic. The interference effect would be stronger. 10 minutes remained. Jinho stood up and moved to the edge of his barrier. He looked at it carefully. The biopaste had weakened the generator. He could not see any difference with his eyes, but he trusted Hana's science. When the reset cycle came, the barrier would fail for exactly 1 second, maybe 1.2 seconds if they were lucky. He had practiced this moment in his mind 1,000 times. He knew exactly how fast he needed to move. He knew exactly which direction to go. His body was ready. 5 minutes remained. Commander Thex walked into the execution chamber. He wanted to watch personally. This was a significant moment. The first human execution in the Void Citadel. A historic occasion. Begin the broadcast, he ordered. Across the galaxy, screens lit up. Billions of beings watched. On human worlds, families gathered in horror. Their leaders demanded the Krell stop this, but the Krell ignored them. This execution would happen. 1 minute remained. Jinho felt time slow down. Every second stretched. His heart beat steadily. His breathing was controlled. His mind was focused and clear. In the execution chamber, a Krell technician reached for the control panel. He would increase the cage power slowly, making Rena's death last several minutes for maximum impact. 30 seconds remained. Jinho watched the bacteria in the corner of his cell. They glowed brighter. The cycle was approaching. Any moment now, 20 seconds. Guards stood in the corridors, changing positions. Their cybernetic implants processed information about the shift rotation. The network traffic was heavy. The interference from 12 human minds created tiny lags. 10 seconds. The barrier reset cycle approached. All throughout the prison, energy barriers prepared to recalibrate. The reset would last 0.4 of a second normally, but with the biopaste disruption, it would last longer. 5 seconds. Jinho tensed. His muscles coiled like springs. His eyes fixed on the space beyond the barrier. 3 seconds. In the execution chamber, the technician's finger moved toward the button. 2 seconds. Every human prisoner held their breath. 1 second. The bacteria flashed bright. The reset cycle began. 0. The barriers throughout the prison flickered. For 1 full second, they weakened to almost nothing. Jinho moved. He threw himself through the barrier space faster than he had ever moved in his life. His pilot reflexes fired at maximum speed. The barrier crackled around him, but its power was too weak to stop him. He burst through into the corridor. Throughout the prison, 11 other humans did the same thing. They emerged from their cells like ghosts appearing from nowhere. The guards' implants registered the breaches, but the interference made them process the information slowly. Microseconds of delay added up to seconds of confusion. In the execution chamber, just as the technician pressed the button, alarms blared. The prison-wide alert system activated. Barriers were breached. Prisoners were loose. The technician froze, uncertain. Commander Thex spun around, his eyes wide with shock. "Impossible," he whispered. In the corridors, Jinho ran. 2 guards were in his section, both turning toward him with weapons rising. But they moved slowly, their implants lagging from the interference. Jinho reached the first guard before he could fire. The hardened meal tray weapon in Jinho's hand struck the guard's temple where the implants connected. The guard dropped. The second guard fired, but Jinho had already moved. The energy blast hit the wall behind him. Jinho slid under the guard's next shot and struck upward, hitting the vulnerable spot under the guard's chin. The guard fell. Jinho grabbed one of their weapons. It was heavy and designed for a Krell hand, but he could use it. He ran toward the next section. According to the plan, Hana and 2 other humans should be emerging there. He was right. Hana burst through a service door with 2 other humans behind her. She had a wild look in her eyes, part terror and part exhilaration. "The science wing is clear," she shouted. "Where is Minho?" "Military section." "We get there next." They ran together. More alarms blared. The prison was fully alert now. But the chaos was working in their favor. Guards rushed in all directions, their perfect patterns broken. The cybernetic network struggled to coordinate them all, with the interference still disrupting signals. In the military section, Minho fought like the trained soldier he was. He had taken down 5 guards already. 3 more humans joined him, and together they formed a fighting unit. They moved with practiced efficiency, covering each other, striking fast and retreating before the guards could respond. Jinho's group reached them. Now they were 8 humans together, 8 against a prison that had never been breached. 27 days remained before Rina's execution. The humans worked with desperate focus. Every moment mattered now. Every small advantage had to be gained. Jinho coordinated through the tapping system, sending messages to all 12 humans scattered through the prison. Hana made the first breakthrough. In her cell in the science wing, she had been examining the food they received each day. The gray paste contained proteins, carbohydrates, and various minerals. But human digestive systems were different from other species. When humans processed certain proteins, their bodies created specific enzymes. These enzymes were unique to human biology. She began saving tiny portions of her food each day. By mixing them with her own saliva and keeping the mixture warm against her skin, she created something new, a paste that reacted with energy fields. It would not destroy an energy barrier, but it might disrupt it for a fraction of a second. She explained the process through tapping to Yuna, the engineer. Yuna confirmed the theory was sound. If they could apply the paste to multiple barrier generators at the same moment, they might create enough disruption to expand the reset window from 0.4 of a second to perhaps a full second. 1 second was enough time for a fast human to move. In the military section, Minho worked on a different problem. They needed weapons, but the prison gave them nothing. Everything they received was soft and harmless. The meal trays were made of a flexible material that bent easily. But Minho discovered something interesting. If he bent the tray back and forth in the same spot thousands of times, the material began to change. It hardened through stress. After 3 weeks of constant bending, he had created a section of tray that was almost as hard as metal. It could be used as a blade or club. He shared this technique through the tapping network. All 12 humans began working on their trays. Suho focused on the mental interference theory. Every day during the rest period, he practiced meditation. He learned to clear his mind completely, and then focus all his mental energy on a single thought. He could feel a strange pressure building in his head when he concentrated hard enough. It gave him headaches, but he kept practicing. He tapped a message to all humans. Practice focusing your mind. Think of one thing only. Think hard. Think all together. The idea was simple. If 12 humans all focused their minds at exactly the same moment, their combined brainwave activity might create enough interference to disrupt the guard's cybernetic network. Just for a moment. Just enough to give them an advantage. Yuna worked on timing. She had no clock, but she had something better. In her cell, she noticed tiny organisms living in the corners, bioluminescent bacteria that glowed faintly. By studying them, she realized they followed a rhythm. They glowed brighter and dimmer in a cycle that matched the prison's 27-hour day. She cultivated the bacteria carefully, feeding them tiny bits of food. She created a living clock that only she could see. By watching the bacteria, she could tell exactly when the energy barrier reset cycles would occur. She shared her findings through the tapping network. All humans began looking for the bacteria in their own cells. They all needed to synchronize their timing perfectly. Jinho continued collecting stomach acid. The puddle in the corner of his cell had eaten through the outer layer of the floor, revealing a secondary layer underneath. He could not dissolve through both layers before the escape date, but he learned something valuable. The prison's construction used multiple redundant layers. The builders assumed each layer was impenetrable, so they did not make the lower layers as strong. That meant if they could break through the first layer of something, the second layer might be weaker. During exercise period, Jinho spoke with Tavik again. The old Renthan warrior watched him with curiosity. "You are different from other prisoners," Tavik said. "You do not act like someone who will be here forever." "Because I will not be here forever," Jinho replied. "The humans are planning something." "I can tell. The other aliens have noticed too. You all move differently now. You have purpose." Tavik leaned closer to his barrier. "Tell me, young human, if you somehow succeed in this impossible escape, what happens to the rest of us?" Jinho met his eyes. "Anyone who wants to come with us is welcome. We leave no one behind who wants freedom." Tavik was silent for a long moment. Then he said, "If you are serious, I will help you. I know things about this prison that you do not. Guard patrol patterns, weak points in the structure, hidden passages. Why would you help us? You said escape was impossible. I said I tried and failed, but I was alone. I was one warrior against an entire system. You are different. You humans work together in ways I have never seen. Maybe together you can do what I could not do alone. Tavik showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. Besides, I am old. I would rather die trying to escape than rot in this cell for another 40 years. Other aliens began to notice the change too. Lissa the telepath approached Jinho during the next exercise period. Your mind burns brighter every day, she said. You and the other humans are planning something large. I cannot read your specific thoughts, but I can feel the intensity. The guards have not noticed yet, but they will soon. Commander Thex is not stupid. Can you help us? Jinho asked. Lisa considered this. My telepathy does not work on Krell. Their cybernetic implants block my abilities. But I can sense when guards are suspicious. I can warn you if they begin to suspect your plan. That would be very helpful. I have been in this prison for 60 years, human. I have forgotten what hope feels like. But when I touch your mind, I remember. That is worth something. 13 days remained. The humans refined their plan. Every detail had to be perfect. One mistake would mean failure. One moment of bad timing would mean death. Hana finished creating enough biopaste. Each human had collected small amounts using the same method. When the time came, they would apply it to their barrier generators during feeding time. The guards never looked closely at what prisoners did with their food. Minho had created 12 hardened weapons from meal trays. They were not much, but they were better than nothing. He had also been exercising constantly, building strength. The guards ignored it, thinking a strong prisoner was still a trapped prisoner. Suho had taught all 12 humans the meditation technique. They practiced every day during rest period, focusing their minds together. Suho reported feeling the interference effect growing stronger. The headaches got worse, but the mental pressure increased. Yuna had everyone synchronized to the bacteria clock. All 12 humans could now tell time with remarkable accuracy, even though they were in different parts of the prison. They would all know exactly when to act. Jinho had mapped the guard patterns in his section. They followed a perfect rotation every 27 hours. There was a 2.3-second overlap during shift changes. During those few seconds, the old guards were leaving and new guards were arriving. Everyone was in motion. Attention was divided. 2.3 seconds was not much time. But combined with the barrier disruption, the mental interference, and human speed, it might be enough. 9 days remained. Commander Thex visited Jinho's cell block. He walked slowly past each barrier, observing the prisoners. When he reached Jinho's cell, he stopped. You have been quiet lately, human, Thex said. Most new prisoners rage against their confinement. They scream. They attack the barriers. They break down. But you just sit there watching. Why? What is the point of screaming? Jinho replied calmly. Exactly. There is no point. You understand this. Perhaps you are smarter than I thought. Thex studied him. I have heard reports. The human prisoners seem different lately, more focused. Are you planning something foolish? I am planning to survive, Jinho said. It was not a lie. Thex made his laughing sound. Survival is not escape. Many prisoners survive here for decades. You will too. Get comfortable, human. This is your home now. After Thex left, Jinho tapped a quick message. They are watching us. Be careful. The responses came back. Understood. 5 days remained. Rena was moved to a special cell near the execution chamber. The guards prepared for the public broadcast. They wanted everything to be perfect. They wanted the whole galaxy to see what happened to humans who defied the Krell Empire, but they did not know that humans had a saying. Never back a human into a corner. Cornered humans become unpredictable and dangerous. 3 days remained. All preparations were complete. The biopaste was ready. The weapons were hidden. The timing was memorized. The mental focus was practiced. Every human knew their role. Jinho tapped one final message to everyone. When we move fast. No hesitation, no doubt. We trust each other. We work together. We do the impossible. The responses came quickly. Ready. 2 days remained. The prison felt different now. Even the aliens could sense something coming. They whispered among themselves. Some thought the humans were crazy. Others hoped desperately that they would succeed. One day remained. Jinho lay in his cell breathing slowly. Tomorrow they would either escape or die. There was no middle ground. The Void Citadel had held prisoners for 1,000 years. Tomorrow that record would end. He thought about Earth, a planet he had not seen in years. He thought about the open sky and fresh air. He thought about all the humans who would never be captured if they could prove the great prison was not unbeatable. 3 weeks passed in the Void Citadel, and Jinho learned more each day. He watched everything. He listened to every sound. He counted every footstep and measured every moment. While other prisoners screamed at the walls or sat in silent despair, Jinho studied his cage like a scientist studying a new species. The prison operated on a 27-hour cycle, not 24 like Earth. The Krell homeworld had longer days. Every species in the galaxy used different time measurements, so the prison forced everyone to follow Krell time. But Jinho's internal clock was human. His body still felt the rhythm of Earth days. That difference might be useful somehow. Through the tapping code, he learned about Hana. She had been a xenobiologist studying alien diseases. When she discovered the Krell were deliberately spreading a plague among human colonies, she tried to stop them. They arrested her for unauthorized research and threw her in the Citadel. Her cell was in the science wing, 3 levels above Jinho. She was brilliant. She told him things about the prison that even the guards didn't realize. The energy barriers, for example, were calibrated for specific biological signatures. Each species had different electromagnetic fields in their bodies. The barriers detected those fields and adjusted their power accordingly. A Krell walking toward a barrier would make it stronger. A smaller species would make it weaker, but still strong enough to kill them. What about humans? Jinho had tapped one night. Unknown, Hana replied. Barriers built before humans discovered. Never tested on us, that was interesting. Very interesting. Jinho also made contact with Minho, a human marine who had been captured during the same colony raid. Minho's cell was in the military prisoner section, deep in the prison's lower levels where they kept soldiers and warriors. Through the tapping system, Minho told him about the guards. The Krell warriors were enhanced with cybernetic implants. The implants made them faster, stronger, and connected them all through a wireless network. They could share information instantly. If one guard saw something, all guards knew about it within seconds. Their implants also followed programmed behavior patterns. They never deviated from their schedules. Perfect soldiers, Minho tapped. Perfect schedule. Perfect patterns. Too perfect, Jinho tapped back. Perfect meant predictable. Predictable meant vulnerable. Every day, Jinho received his food through the slot in the barrier. Gray paste that tasted terrible but provided nutrition. He ate most of it, but not all. He learned that if he ate quickly and then pressed his stomach in a certain way, he could make himself partially sick. His body would produce extra stomach acid. He spat the acid into his mouth and then carefully spat it into the corner of his cell. Human stomach acid was strong, stronger than most species because humans evolved to eat almost anything. Over weeks, the small puddle of acid in the corner began to eat away at the metal floor. Just a tiny spot barely visible, but it was progress the guards never noticed. They never looked closely at anything. Their implants told them everything was normal, so they believed it. On the 30th day, Jinho made contact with more humans. A woman named Yuna, an engineer who had refused to build weapons for the Krell. She was imprisoned in the manufacturing wing where they forced prisoners to work on construction projects. She knew everything about energy systems and mechanical design. Through the tapping code, she explained something crucial. The energy barriers required a reset cycle. Every 6 hours, each barrier shut down for exactly 0.4 of a second while it recalibrated. The shutdown happened so fast that no species could react in time. The fastest creature known could move through a barrier opening in about 1 full second. 0.4 of a second was simply too quick. But human pilots had reaction times around 0.2 of a second when properly trained and prepared. Jinho had spent 15 years flying ships through asteroid fields and combat zones. His reaction time was faster than most humans, 0.4 of a second. Maybe, just maybe it was enough. He also learned about Suho, a young hacker barely 20 years old. Suho had been caught stealing information about Krell food distribution systems. He wanted to prove the Krell were lying about famines on occupied worlds. Now he was locked in the data security wing, surrounded by computers he couldn't touch. But Suho understood the Krell cybernetic network. He had studied it before his capture. He explained through tapping that the network operated on a specific frequency. The Krell thought it was unhackable because it required direct technological interface. But Suho had a theory. Human brains produced electrical signals. If a human concentrated hard enough, focusing all their mental energy on a single thought pattern, they might be able to create interference. Not much, just a tiny disruption, but maybe enough to cause a glitch. Never tested, Suho tapped. Just theory. Worth trying, Jinho responded. The network of humans grew. They were 12 in total, scattered throughout the prison. Each one brought knowledge and skills. Each one refused to give up hope, even when alien prisoners told them they were fools. Jinho met an alien prisoner named Tavik during exercise period. Once a week, prisoners were allowed into a large chamber for physical movement. Energy barriers kept everyone separated, but they could see and hear each other. Tavik was a Renthan, a species with 4 arms and thick blue skin. He had been imprisoned for 40 years. He was a warrior once, famous for his strength and skill. Now he just looked tired. "You are the human everyone whispers about," Tavik said in rough galactic common language, "the one who thinks he can escape." "I don't think," Jinho replied. "I plan," Tavik laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "I planned too, young one. I planned for 5 years. I tried my escape on the most perfect day when everything aligned. I failed in 17 seconds. The guards knew my every move before I made it. This prison is alive, it thinks. It anticipates. It anticipates species it knows," Jinho said. "But we are new here. Humans have only been in this galaxy for 20 years. This prison is 1,000 years old. It was not built for us." Tavik studied him with his large dark eyes. "You really believe that matters?" "I believe every advantage matters, even small ones." Another alien approached the barrier between them. She was a Mindel, a species of telepaths with gray skin and large heads. Her name was Lissa, and she had been imprisoned for 60 years. "I can feel your thoughts, human," she said softly. "You burn with determination. But I have felt that burning in hundreds of prisoners. It always fades. The prison breaks everyone eventually. Then I will escape before it breaks me," Jinho said. Lisa tilted her head. "Your species is strange. You feel hope even when logic says there is none." "Is this madness or courage?" "Both," Jinho admitted. "Humans are good at both." Back in his cell, Jinho continued his routine. He exercised to keep his body strong. He counted to keep his mind sharp. He collected more acid in the corner. He tapped messages to other humans. He watched the guards and learned their patterns. The Krell thought they were perfect. Their prison was perfect. Their security was perfect. Their 1,000-year record was perfect. But Jinho knew a secret that the Krell had not yet learned. Perfection was brittle. Perfection could not adapt. Perfection broke when faced with something unexpected. And humans were very good at being unexpected. On the 40th day, something changed. A new prisoner arrived. The guards brought her past Jinho's cell, and he saw her through the energy barrier. She was young, maybe 17 years old. Human. Her name was Rena, and she looked terrified. The whispers spread through the tapping network quickly. Rena had been captured defending her family during a Krell raid. She fought back with nothing but a metal pipe, injuring 3 soldiers before they subdued her. The Krell decided to make an example of her. In 30 days, they would execute her publicly. They would broadcast it across the galaxy to show what happened to humans who resisted. 30 days. Not much time. Jinho tapped a message to all the humans he could reach. The tapping spread through the walls, passed from cell to cell. No more waiting. "We move in 30 days. Everyone prepare." The responses came back slowly, one by one. "Ready. Understood. For Rena. For all of us." Jinho closed his eyes and began planning the impossible. The transport ship shook violently as the energy chains pulled it toward the massive structure floating in space. Jinho pressed his face against the small window, watching the prison grow larger with each passing second. It looked like a dark metal fortress spinning slowly around a dying red star, the Void Citadel. He had heard stories about this place. Every spacer in the galaxy knew the tales. Once you entered those walls, you never left. Not alive anyway. The chains dragged his ship into a docking port. Metal clanged against metal. The door hissed open and 6 Krell guards stood waiting. They were tall creatures nearly 8 feet high, with gray skin like stone and eyes that glowed a faint blue. Metal implants covered parts of their heads and arms, making them look half-machine. Each one carried a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. "Prisoner Jinho, come forward," one guard said. His voice sounded cold and mechanical through his helmet. Jinho stood up slowly. His hands were already bound in energy cuffs that burned if he moved them too quickly. He was 32 years old, a pilot who had spent most of his life flying freight between human colonies. 3 months ago, everything changed. A Krell warship attacked a colony ship carrying 3,000 people. Jinho happened to be nearby. He did what any human would do. He fought back. Somehow, impossibly, he won. His small ship destroyed the warship. The colonist escaped, but the Krell Empire never forgot an insult. They hunted him for weeks before catching him at a refueling station. Now he would pay the price. The guards surrounded him as they walked through long metal corridors. Everything was gray and cold. The walls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Other prisoners watched from behind energy barriers as he passed. Jinho saw dozens of different species. Some had multiple arms. Others had scales or fur. A few looked almost human but with strange eyes or extra fingers. All of them had the same look on their faces. Hopelessness. They walked for what felt like an hour. Finally, they reached a large chamber. In the center stood a Krell who was different from the guards. He wore a black uniform with silver markings. His implants were more elaborate, covering half his face with gleaming metal. "I am Commander Thex, Warden of the Void Citadel," he said. His voice was deep and carried a tone of absolute authority. "Do you know where you are, human?" "A prison," Jinho replied simply. Thex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "This is not just a prison. This is the greatest prison ever built. For 1,000 years, we have held the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. Warriors who could tear through steel. Telepaths who could break minds. Hackers who could control entire fleets. Assassins who could turn invisible. All of them tried to escape." The warden moved closer, his glowing eyes fixed on Jinho. All of them failed. Every single one. The Void Citadel has never lost a prisoner. Not in 1,000 years. "Do you understand what that means?" Jinho met his gaze. "It means you're proud of your prison. It means escape is impossible. The greatest minds of 17 species designed this facility. Every possible method of escape has been anticipated and prevented. The walls cannot be broken. The barriers cannot be passed. The guards cannot be defeated. You will spend the rest of your life here, human. You will die here. That is your only certainty." Jinho said nothing. He simply nodded once. Thex seemed disappointed by the lack of reaction. "Take him to cell block 7. The guards grabbed Jinho's arms and pulled him away. They went through more corridors, down several levels, and finally stopped in front of a small cube-shaped room. An energy barrier covered the entrance, crackling with purple light. One guard pressed a panel on the wall. The barrier disappeared for exactly 3 seconds. They shoved Jinho inside, and the barrier snapped back into place immediately. The cell was 3 meters wide, 3 meters deep, and 3 meters tall. The walls were smooth gray metal with no seams or openings. There was no bed, no chair, no sink, no toilet. Just empty space. A single light panel in the ceiling provided dim illumination. Jinho turned around slowly, examining everything. The energy barrier hummed constantly. He could feel heat radiating from it. Touching it would probably kill him instantly. He sat down in the corner and closed his eyes. The other prisoners looked hopeless because they had been here too long. They had tried everything and failed. They believed the warden's words. They accepted that escape was impossible, but Jinho had an advantage they didn't realize. He was human. His species was new to this galaxy. The Krell had built this prison before they knew humans existed. They had designed it to hold every species they knew about. They didn't know enough about humans. Humans were stubborn. Humans were creative. Humans looked at impossible problems and said, "Let me try anyway." Evolution had built humans to be adaptable survivors. Give a human a problem and they would work on it until they found a solution or died trying. Jinho opened his eyes and studied the cell again. This time he wasn't looking at an unbreakable cage. He was looking at a puzzle. Every puzzle had a solution. He just had to find it. Hours passed. The light never changed. Jinho couldn't tell if it was day or night. A small slot in the energy barrier opened and a tray slid through. The food was gray paste that tasted like nothing. He ate it anyway. The tray disappeared back through the slot. He started counting in his head. He counted seconds, then minutes, then hours. He needed to know how time passed in this place. After what felt like a full day, a guard walked past his cell. Jinho counted the footsteps. The guard took 47 steps before the sound faded. He kept counting. The next guard came exactly 3 hours later. Same pattern. 47 steps, Jinho smiled slightly. The guards followed a schedule. A precise, predictable schedule. That was the first piece of information. Another day passed, then another. The routine never changed. Food came at the same time. Guards walked past at the same intervals. The light never dimmed. Everything was controlled and perfect. Too perfect. On the 5th day, Jinho heard something new. A faint tapping sound came from the wall to his left. It wasn't random. The pattern repeated. Tap, 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 Morse code. Someone was using Morse code. The Krell probably didn't recognize it. Morse code was an ancient human communication method, created centuries ago on Earth. Why would aliens know about it? Jinho moved to the wall and tapped back. Tap, 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 tap. The tapping stopped for a moment. Then it came again, faster this time. It spelled out a word. Human? Jinho tapped his response. Yes, another pause. Then more tapping. Hana, scientist, you? Jinho, pilot. How many? She asked. Good question. How many humans were in this prison? Jinho tapped back. Don't know, you? Heard rumors. Maybe 12 total. 12 humans scattered through the largest prison in the galaxy. 12 people who understood stubbornness. 12 people who refused to accept impossible. Jinho tapped one more message. We find each other. We make plan. The response came quickly. They say escape impossible. Jinho smiled in the darkness of his cell. He tapped out his final message for the night. Let's prove them wrong.